Well, my ceiling fan is off and it is 90 degrees, so that must mean it's time for a brand new podcast.
A weekly tradition here.
Welcome one and all to the... What is the name of this podcast?
Well, last I checked, we were the Unnecessary Gentlemen.
Yeah, I think that's right. Welcome to that, people.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, tell the people who we are.
You are Snoop. According to my birth certificate, it's not the long form, so I don't believe it, but I am Sean.
As far as I know, as far as the rest of the listeners are concerned. But yeah, we're back for another brand new episode. And this is a pretty special episode. I feel like every episode's pretty special. So does that mean any of them are special?
If everyone's special, no one's special.
Well, more on that later. But no, this is the first episode we did. We're doing a Your House together.
Yep, look at these freshly painted walls.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment to admire them.
I mean, it's a pretty overpowering smell since you just painted them. I'll probably pass out.
We probably shouldn't be in here, especially with the fan off, but I'm committed.
Yeah, but, you know, we got a dog over there. We got more dogs outside. You got me a nice bottle of water. I mean, I've been in worse situations, is my point.
Yep.
So I reckon I could do a podcast. You think we got some news to talk about in this new episode?
Yeah, so Donald Trump met with a lawyer.
Not that news.
Oh. Okay.
As the people know, we talk about movies, comics, TVs, sometimes video games, and other stuff. So if you got any news regarding that, then I'm all ears, Sean.
Well, I guess we need to talk about the big thing that happened over at the old Warner Brothers. Zack Snyder is out of the Justice League.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about that. Yeah, so as a lot of you guys know, and some of you may not know, Zack Snyder recently stepped down from post-production in Justice League, and Joss Whedon's taken over. And it's for a pretty it's not for a good reason, certainly. You know, we found out that his daughter, Autumn Snyder, recently committed suicide back in March, which I don't remember any news about that coming out when it happened.
No, they had kept it under wraps.
Yeah, so, and obviously I understand why, but he basically said that he needs this time to kind of be with his family, which is more than understandable. And we've talked plenty of crap on his previous movies. I'm not going to deny that I'll probably talk crap on Justice League when it comes out if it's no good, but that sucks for anyone. Like, I don't wish that on anybody. And we also lost Chris Cornell as well to suicide, which, you know, we're not being sponsored or anything, but I just wanted to mention, you know, some of, you know, there's organizations out there that if you or anyone you know is kind of going through a similar situation, like, suicide's not the answer by any means. And there are people you can reach out to. The big one that comes to mind for me is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. You know, it's just a 24/7 phone line that anyone can call, or I think they also offer texting, and it's completely free. There's, you know, just, it's made up of entirely like volunteers that are there to, you know, get anyone through a moment like that if they're having those thoughts. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So if, you know, for any kind of crisis counseling, you or like you said, or like I said, anyone else might need, their number is 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. And like I said, it's just a toll-free number that is available 24/7 that offers any kind of counseling you might need, or someone you know who is, you know, maybe going through a rough time. And like, there's definitely ways to avoid that. Like, we don't cover a lot of serious topics, Sean, but
all the
time. But, you know, there's definitely solutions. Don't feel like you have, you know, everyone goes through some rough times. We're going through some rough times right now, Sean.
But I know, it's very hot in here.
It's very hot, but it doesn't mean you have to kind of just give up and take that way out. Obviously, you know, if you want to talk to me, if you're going through anything, feel free, but I don't know if I'm qualified. I'm stumbling over words right now, but there's other people out there who are definitely qualified to handle this sort of thing. And we just want to take a moment to mention that they're there. It's also like the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. If you just go on Google, give it a quick search, I'm sure there's plenty of local council areas that you can get in touch with easily. So there's people out there who care about you, or, you know, someone you know who's going through a hard time that want to help. Well, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Bit of sad news there, but, you know, felt the need to address it.
And if nobody else cares, we care.
Certainly.
No.
Once we're talking about how we care, I mean, I don't care about you, Sean.
Wow.
We definitely care about the listeners, don't we?
Yeah, regardless of what you're going through your life, you've got people who love you in your life and whether they depend upon you or just need you around. You've got people that care.
Yeah, and I've got this dog over here.
Got this nice dog. He needs me. Yeah. Like, without me, he would not be fed.
And he would not be happy. Yeah, I guess we can cheer ourselves up a bit with a bit of other news.
Well, you want to talk about how that might impact the old Justice League film?
Yeah, I guess we could go over that. Yeah, so, like I said, Joss Whedon is taking over the post-production process. And a lot of people who are just, you know, that's all they care about is the Justice League movie and didn't like Batman vs. Superman. They're like, oh, this is, you know, what is this going to do to the film? The answer is, it's not going to do anything. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, Joss Whedon has taken over post-production, so he's working on editing mostly from what I understand of it. The film's been pretty much filmed already, so not a whole lot can be done. No,
and they want to get this movie out in November. Like, that's not changed at all. And you've been saying, because this did, you know, he lost his daughter back in March and was, you know, supposedly working on it until Zack Snyder just eventually said he needed to, you know, take this time off. But you've been saying that maybe Joss Whedon was involved before that.
Yeah, it's possible. And they've just kept it under wraps.
Yeah.
I just find it really interesting that if you go back to 2012 and just getting, like, walked out of the theater from the Avengers and be like, hey, you know that guy that directed that? In a few years, he'll be directing Justice League, sort of.
Yeah, and, you know, as we know, he's all in on the Batgirl movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it is interesting that because a lot of people know Avengers Age of Ultron kind of broken. He got really sad during that movie. There's just, like, behind-the-scenes features, and he's just talking about how much difficult it is, or how more difficult it is to make this movie. Every new video, he's losing a little more hair from all the stress.
And then I lose a little bit more hair because of it.
Yeah, and then after that movie came out, which has been, I guess, 2 years at this point, he disappeared. I didn't know where Joss Whedon was for a really long time. I put out wanted posters on just someone to give me any kind of information.
I went out there late at night with flashlights in the woods. We had bloodhounds running all over the place. He was gone.
He needed some time. But I'm glad to see that this hasn't ruined his experience with these comic book properties, because I love the Avengers, and I think the Avengers 2 is a fine movie. You know, it didn't do some things that I would have liked, especially with the character of Ultron, but I still think it's fine. So I'm glad that he's coming back for you know, these DC projects, especially Batgirl. I really want to see his Batgirl movie, as long as it gets made.
Speaking of stuff that may or may not get made.
Ooh.
What is happening over at Sony exactly?
We've been talking about this for...
They've lost their minds.
Is this the reason we started this podcast? Is to keep up with Sony?
They have lost their minds at that company.
Yeah, so last week, as we mentioned in our prior episode, Tom Hardy signed on as Venom with Ruben Fleischer, I think is his name, for director. He directed Zombieland. That was already, like, interesting news that I still haven't decided I care about or not. And now they're going off the rails, Sean. We've got our director for what we thought was going to be 2 separate movies about Black Cat and Silver Sable. Well, now there's just going to be a buddy cop film directed by someone who directed a documentary about bees.
I do love bees.
And the secret lives they lead, maybe?
So, does anybody even know who Silver Sable is?
Not. Well, I mean, like, Spider-Man's my favorite. Like, the world and the characters are, like, that's my favorite comic book series, and I know
she's a somewhat of an anti-hero. She's
been an anti-hero and a villain
she's
at times.
Mercenary. She kills like war criminals and stuff.
Yeah, so Silver Sable, the character was created by Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz back in the 80s, and basically she is just a mercenary who, like you said, hunts different war criminals. And Spider-Man, he probably doesn't want, he's probably just hanging out, and then she just rushes by and she's like, well, I'll kill the spider at the same time. And I think in certain instances, maybe later on in the continuity, it's revealed that she's the daughter of Silvermane.
Yeah. No, that's I don't know if that ever was in the comics. That was in the Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's not a character, and I think recently she's kind of been put back into the comics, but very recently. And I think she's a villain again. That's what I'm saying. No one knows enough about I'm sure there are people who love this character, but I don't think anyone cares about it. That person, that character enough to have a movie with her. And Black Cat is a lot more famous, obviously.
Yeah, Black Cat created in 1979 by Morv Wolfman. See, I know stuff.
You know stuff too. Look at you go. I
don't want to say she's Marvel's version of Catwoman, but she's kind of Marvel's version of Catwoman.
She's I really enjoy the character of Black Cat. But the thing is,
Felicia Hardy.
Yeah, Felicia Hardy. She gets. It's been different, I feel like. Like, doesn't she have powers and sometimes she doesn't?
No, well, she's the daughter of, get this, the cat. Yeah, she decided to follow in her father's footsteps and become a cat burglar.
And to do that, you have to dress up like a cat, of course, if you're going to be good at it.
Look, every time I've tried to be a cat burglar, it has failed spectacularly.
It's because you keep dressing up like a dog.
Yeah. And the police just laugh at me. They're like, go back home, Sean. We don't have time for this.
Like, we'll see you again next week. But yeah, like, the thing is about Black Cat, yeah, I mean, she's a fun character, but just like Venom, she works best with Spider-Man.
Well, I just find it so crazy that Sony, they're actually going forward with a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing they've done in a really long time. And they've done a lot of dumb stuff recently, but this one is just like, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with this. Like, we talk about studios all the time not knowing like what people actually want to see, and people ultimately don't know what they want. But this, even just from a business standpoint, if you did a little bit of research, you would see that this wouldn't work. And they've got this director who her name is Gina Prince Bythewood, and she wrote and directed The Secret Life of Bees, which, as I think we mentioned, I'm pretty sure is a documentary by Disney about bees. So, like, where did that decision come from? I mean, there's plenty of other directors out there. I'm sure they could have picked up a director or two who, got passed on, like Wonder Woman, because as we know, studios can't make a superhero movie about female characters without getting a female director. But yeah, I just don't. I don't get it. I don't see the point of it. I don't know if they actually expect this to make money. Maybe what they want to do is, because this movie isn't set to start, I don't think this movie will come out until like 2020 or 2019 at the earliest. So maybe they want to get this Venom movie out and then try, instead of having Spider-Man in there with them, just make Tom Hardy that Spider-Man character. Like maybe he's flirting with Black Cat instead of Spider-Man. Like maybe that's what they want to do with this. Maybe they want Venom to be their new Spider-Man.
Well, that's a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
No, I mean, Sony hasn't had such a great idea since Men in Black 3. That great Ghostbusters reboot. The time they wanted to mix 21 Jump Street and Men in Black. It's a studio. I would have
seen that for the record. But what were you saying?
I'm just saying it's just an imaginative studio over there. They're just on top of
They're
stuff.
Going for broke at this point, aren't they?
Yeah.
I just don't. I said this is just a very confusing thing, and anytime I feel like they've just gone as far as they can go, they pull this, which I guess they're learning a little bit. They're not trying to make a separate Black Cat and separate Silver Sable movie like they originally planned, because the working title right now is Black and Silver, or Silver and Black. And
Silver is the new black.
I guess so. But yeah, the thing is, the characters, their designs, very similar. Like, the main difference is one wears black and shows more cleavage, and one wears, like, a silver bodysuit. So, in a way, it's just like you and me.
Yep. Which one has the most cleavage? Find out more at 6 o'clock.
It's Sean.
Wow.
But maybe come back for pictures. But, yeah, I don't know. But I guess we could... I mean, since Sony's not going to talk about Spider-Man anymore, I guess we could talk about it.
Great segue. Oh, perfect. You win the Seggy Award of 2017.
Good. Who was I in competition with?
Some Nike commercial. I don't know. Oh. Listen, Spider-Man trailer. We didn't need it, didn't want it, but it's here.
I mean, we certainly didn't need it after the trailer we got last time that gave us the movie, but it didn't necessarily spoil anything else for me that wasn't already spoiled. Yeah?
Yeah, we already know the whole plot of this movie.
Yeah, like, they didn't necessarily just, they didn't show us another angle of the... Like, actually, that's what that trailer was, is it was just different angles or, a couple seconds after the shots we've already seen. So we know what the Vulture and his crew are doing. We know what they want. We know how they get their suits.
You do see a little bit of the Shocker's powers being used in this.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one as well. Like, because in the scene where we've seen since the first trailer where they have the Avengers masks on and he stops them. We see the Shocker use his thing, but we also see this weird, like, almost like gravitational thing that someone uses. I don't know who that would be though. Like, because that was almost seemed like it'd be a different character. Because the Shocker's thing is purple and shoots like weird lasers or something. Or maybe it's just he has both of those.
Isn't the Tinkerer supposed to be in this movie?
Yeah, you know what I think? And I think it might be Donald Glover. Because we see him again in this trailer. And we know we know since the second trailer he's part of the crew with Michael Keaton and the rest of, the Shocker and everyone else. But they've been pretty tight-lipped on who he is. Like, they haven't even said his character's name. So, and, he likes to play that out there but really smart guy. He saved Matt Damon in The Martian.
Good.
So I'm thinking he might just be the Tinkerer, which is fine. I mean, I don't know why they're not saying that, but maybe it is because he's someone bigger. I mean, he's obviously not going to be Miles Morales like everyone wants. I'm not saying he can't do it. He can do anything he wants.
I'm saying he can't do it.
I mean, he's already done it. He's the voice of Miles Morales on that really bad Spider-Man show.
I'm saying he can't do it.
But yeah, that's my guess. I'm gonna throw my line out there and see if I can catch any Donald Glovers tinkering about.
How do you feel about? I don't know if I like the whole Spider-Man, his suit being so.
He's Iron Man.
Yeah, full of tech and everything.
So again, we've seen the whole movies from the last two trailers. We know he loses that suit.
Again, thank you for that, Sony.
Thanks, Sony. But we know he loses the suit later on and has to go back to basics. I think that's why that's such a big thing, is because, the suit that has all, Iron Man technology and can basically beat anybody, that's taken from him. And he has to go against the Vulture and the Shocker, who are still, it's going to be like man versus technology at the end. Whereas he's on par with them with that suit, if not better. And so to have it taken away from him, but still have to, suit up and save the day, that's going to be the main point. And, because he isn't like, the thing that's most interesting about Spider-Man is you're right, he doesn't have like all this, all these gadgets that can just fix everything or get him out of danger. Like, and we see it's going to do that in the trailer when he has that suit. But that's not what makes him interesting, is that he knows he's kind of outclassed by some of these villains, but he's just a kid, but he suits up anyway and goes for it. That's what's one of the more interesting aspects of Spider-Man for me anyway. So I think that's what the angle they're playing. And maybe, I think that'll be fine with me if at the end he gets another suit. Obviously they're not going to have him wearing that hoodie for long, but then it's just a, kind of more spandex suit that doesn't do as much. It has the web shooter still, but that's fine with me. What do you think?
We'll see how it plays out.
I know one thing that I really hate about this movie. That poster is awful.
Yeah.
It's just, he's not even, Robert Downey Jr. is the biggest part of that poster.
Like 60% of this poster is Robert Downey Jr.'s forehead.
They made Tom Holland as small as the Chinese Star Wars poster with Finn when they shrunk him down. That's not though. And plus that poster has just got so much all over the shop. Like, less is more when it comes to posters. I love a good minimalist poster. You know that about me, Sean.
You talk about it all the time.
I'm just like, would you look at these lack of details?
I'm like, Snoop, shut up about your minimalism, okay?
I'm like,
it's not an art field that's relevant to us anymore. And you're like, no, it's still relevant.
I'm just poking you. I'm like, you see this character's face and you say no, and I go exactly. And then we just kind of stand there.
If you go into Snoop's house, you just see nothing but white posters all over the wall.
Art comes in many forms, Sean.
I know.
Why don't you realize that? But yeah, overall, July 7th is when this comes out.
Yep, I'll be there.
I'm really excited to be there. Like, the thing is, I have seen the movie, but it looks good. I'll say that. We got a couple more trailers, didn't we?
See that Game of Thrones trailer, knowing that you have?
You know I have. I watched it before I came over here, and that's going to be a big season. It's not a lot of episodes, but
7.
They're cranking them out, and there's a full-on war coming, Sean.
Yeah, everybody's coming for Cersei.
There's people coming from the west, the north, all the directions. She's standing. There's big maps that people can stand on. It looks really good.
Yeah.
That dragon. I saw a picture of that dragon. I think, like, Entertainment gets those photo shoots every now and again. Those exclusive sneak peeks.
They went out into the wild and they took a picture of an actual dragon.
Yeah, and it got really big.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got that whole thing in frame, but
it's like the size of a 747.
But no, like, I couldn't be more excited for this. It's it's a huge payoff. Like, we've been watching 6 seasons, and not that anything, there's been a couple parts where things have just kind of dragged, but overall every story's been really just great to follow. But this is what it's been working towards, is that Iron Throne that everybody wants for some reason.
Looks really uncomfortable, but they want it.
Yeah, it's just those swords are going to poke someone in the back. It's real rusty.
Wasn't there one point where, like, supposedly there was like 1,000 swords that were melted down?
Yeah,
and one of the characters was like, I counted. It's not 1,000. I think it was Varys who said that.
Probably Varys. He's always just doing stuff. But no, like, yeah, this is, it's got all the characters we know and love that are somehow still around. And we're just waiting to see how they die. We know they're all going to die. No one gets away in this universe.
Nobody's happy.
No. Jon Snow's certainly not happy.
Even in this universe, even the people that are just, like, living their lives, like, they just built, like, a cabin out in the woods. They get killed eventually. Like, people that aren't even connected to any of this.
Like, it just cuts to scenes of people dying from, like, just disease. Like, this universe is, like, thoroughly depressing.
Like, I didn't even deserve this.
But no, like, it's great. And it's great to see that just from these trailers. Like, the cast is still all in there. A lot of times when these shows are kind of coming to the end and they're 7 seasons in, they're just kind of, like, getting their paychecks and showing up. But, like, that part with Cersei alone, it's just like, she's such a good actress, Lena Headey. And I can't wait to see her get her own, and
her comeuppance,
if you will. And I know Jamie's gonna do it. It's in the prophecy.
Oh, he's gonna do it. All right.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
And wink.
People got really upset about that when that happened. I think spoilers, obviously, but it's like where it's after Joffrey dies.
Yeah.
They did not like that. The internet was ablaze. They're like, this is, this
is too much.
I've had this, I understand some incest, but this is too much incest, they said.
Game of Thrones never crosses lines, and they did it this time.
But no, July 16th, yeah?
Yeah.
Is when that comes out?
Yep.
I thought it was coming out in August, but I'm pleasantly surprised it's not. Although it should have already been out by now. But at the same time, I'm fine. It's whatever. I still got one more season to get out of this anyway, so yeah. Well, you got any more news, Sean? Any more of that newsy news that you love so much?
Just a little bit of New Mutants.
Yeah, we got a couple of New Mutants things. You want to bring that up?
Sure.
I mean, you did, but do you want to talk about it?
So no costumes.
Yeah, no costumes, no supervillains, and I quote Josh Boone.
It's going to be a horror movie.
Yeah, and I'm fine with the horror thing, but what is it with people not wanting to give X-Men characters costumes? Like,
costumes don't work in the movie, Snoop. Okay, we've learned that by now. That's why Captain America doesn't have one. That's why Spider-Man never has a costume. Batman, he's just a guy. He doesn't have a bat costume. They don't work.
Just put someone in a white tank top and a leather jacket and call it a day. Just give them costumes. And no supervillains. What are they going to do?
Maybe the struggle is internal, Snoop, not external. You ever thought of that?
Like they're having just like a real bad stomach ache throughout the film?
Sure.
Just them going to the bathroom a lot?
What? Okay.
Maybe losing control of their mutant powers?
Okay.
I mean, it's a horror film, Sean. This is the kind of stuff we signed up for.
Maybe you did.
It'd be pretty scary. Just see Maisie Williams turn into a wolf on the toilet. Ugh.
Anyway.
It could happen. But, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the horror. Like, I like what, because obviously we've had a lot of superhero films. Some would say too much. I say not enough. But people are, kind of getting to that point where why come back to this? There's already been, I've seen them all. So I like this aspect of adopting different genres to work into it. I'm fine with that. I think it's a really good move. But a big part of superhero films is someone getting a costume, someone suiting up in uncomfortable spandex. If I'm not going to have that, then what kind of X-Men movie is this, Sean?
X-Men 1.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is. But I'm still excited about it. Like, out of the 3 that come out next year, obviously I want Deadpool 2, and I think I want the Dark Phoenix saga, but New Mutants is the one that interests me the most, because it's the one we know nothing about, that we haven't seen before.
Okay. Well, real quick, DC lost another director. Doug Liman left Justice League Dark. That movie's never going to get made anyway.
It's been in development hell since we've been born. Like, we were born. Which, there's been so many people attached to that project. I'm going to ask you this. Do you want that movie?
Sort of. I wouldn't be against it. That, the animated one that came out a few months back, I kind of like that one, actually.
Yeah, you liked it a little more than I did, but I thought it was definitely a lot better than some of the previous animated stuff I've seen that they have made. I think my biggest issue with it is Batman doesn't need to be in everything, but, whatever. But no, I really enjoyed all the characters that were in there. The Swamp Thing fight was really great as well. So, I wouldn't mind this movie. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know how that would fit into their current... obviously their universe is dark and gritty and whatever.
Well, you can just put it in the universe. They don't have to...
Yeah, but everything's got to be cinematic and connected now.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be, though.
Speaking of cinematic and connected... Unless do you have anything else to add?
No, keep going, keep going. You're on a roll.
I am segueing about, but do you see that Dark Universe thing that Universal put out?
Yeah, I saw it briefly.
So we're still getting that.
Good. I say good.
It was so I saw the trailer. I guess it was just the one actual trailer, which is just them re-releasing all those original. And the Dark Universe stuff, if no one knows, is just like the Universal monsters, like the Invisible Man. The Wolfman.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. The Mummy.
The Mummy, of course, and then... What's the Dracula? Is it just Dracula? What's it called? Like, what was the original one called? Was it just Dracula?
Just old Dracula.
Okay, old Dracula. He's just Dracula in a classic. Walker. He's just getting around as best he can.
The OG Drax, as they called him back then.
Yeah, so they're just re-releasing all those movies on, like, a Blu-ray type pack, but that's also to tie into their... new universe that they're launching with Tom Cruise's The Mummy. But yeah, that's my biggest... I don't care about I don't think everything needs to be connected. Like, obviously I want the DC and the Marvel stuff connected because it does offer more stories and more team-ups. I love a good team-up, Sean. But...
You have so many minimalist posters with team-ups on them.
I don't know who any of the characters are because of all the minimalist detail, but I love all those people together, just bunched up, just maybe getting a cup of coffee, maybe. But yeah, I don't need this, and I don't think anyone necessarily wants it either.
I don't think anybody cares.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure people will go see The Mummy because Tom Cruise still sells. I don't know how, but good on him for that. But yeah, I don't think anyone cares about a connected Monsters Universe movie. This is just a pure cash grab. I wouldn't mind seeing new versions of some of these movies, like The Invisible Man and The Creature from the Black Lagoon, but I don't want to see them teaming up to fight, another mummy. Let's think, like, what can they fight? Is there, like, a huge, like, overarching villain or creature in these stories that they all meet that they can fight?
They all fight Tom Cruise.
Oh.
Just a giant Tom Cruise.
He's just screaming, and he's in a plane that's coming towards him.
Yes.
It's terrifying. Maybe Tom Hanks is going to land it in time, though.
He won't.
There's no water.
There's no time, Tom Cruise says. There's no time.
There's no water. But yeah, I mean, they're going to do it anyway. Maybe I won't see it. I don't care. I don't like Tom Cruise, you know that.
I'll be there. Opening day, midnight.
Yeah, you will. Well, yeah. Speaking of monsters and movies we don't care about, you know that Resident Evil movie that came out? That was the last one. It came out this year.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, you ready to see a whole new bunch of them?
Nope.
Well, we're getting it. They already announced the reboot in the Resident Evil franchise.
Good.
Yep. That's news, right?
That's almost news.
It just came out. Like, I think it came out in March, at best.
Yeah. No, it came out,
it came out this year.
January.
Maybe it was January. Yeah, it was January, you're right. Yeah, and the people who own it, which is Constantin Film, it's a German film production company. That's like one of their biggest franchises. I mean, those movies...
They cost $17 to make.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't cost a lot of money to make. You get a couple of bigger name actors in TV. What are you doing, dog?
My dog's he's just itching that back of his.
That's a good itch. He's probably all excited about this monster or Resident Evil film. He heard there were dogs in those movies. He's like, get my big break.
It's about time dogs get recognition in film.
Yeah, but like we said, these movies cost nothing to make. People see them. Enough people, anyway. It's always one of those things that you ask people who see all of them, and they're like, well, I like this one part, but I don't either remember the rest of it, or I remember it being crap. So, I mean, if people want to spend their money on that, they're in luck. It hasn't been announced whether or not Paul W.S. Anderson, who's directed all of them pretty much, is going to come back, though. And if he comes back, that means Mila Jovovich will come back, because, that's what they do. They're married. They just make Resident Evil films together. It's a great relationship. So, yep. I knew you were excited about that, Sean. I just wanted to bring it up.
Oh, thank you. I'm just brimming with optimism over here.
Any more news you got? I got a couple more things I can quickly mention if you don't have anything. If you want to know.
Yeah, so I got some stuff. So the Senate has opened up an investigation.
Anything else important that we can mention on the show?
No.
Okay. Just going to go through this news real quick. We mentioned the New Mutants. They also got a new cast member, Rosario Dawson.
Yep.
Believe it or not, she's going to play, if she I don't think she's 100% on board. I've read different articles, but if she joins, or she's already joined, she's going to be the character of Dr. Cecilia Reyes, I think is her name. Yeah, Dr. Celia Reyes, who is a mutant, but also a medical doctor.
Look at her.
Look at her both. Doing the things that she already does in Marvel roles. I don't care, though, because she's great. I love her in anything she's in, so I'll watch it. And then a guy named Jack Kesey. He's going to be a villain in Deadpool 2, Sean. Do you know that?
I do now.
You do now? Yeah, he just got passed. Let's see if it says who he is. He's going to be a character called Black Tom. In the comics, apparently, he's a Dublin-born mutant who can manipulate and bond with plant life.
Well, okay.
Plot twist, he's not actually black. The actor. I don't know about the character.
Well, if he's from Dublin, I would assume not.
You're saying there's no black people in Dublin?
There is.
How dare you?
But
black people can be wherever they want.
Look, I'm Irish, so I can say that.
Fair enough. But no, you know, a little more Deadpool news doesn't hurt anybody. Pretty stacked cast as of right now, with Josh Brolin playing every Marvel character he wants to, being Cable now, and then of course Ryan Reynolds is back. The one, who's the director for this now? Because Tim Miller left. I think it's one of those guys from John Wick, the first one, because he knows the team. Know. I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but yeah,
I'm gonna quote you.
Okay, well, quote me on this, because this is the last bit of news I have. You know that Tom Holland guy we mentioned and love so much.
Yep.
Well, he's got a new role coming up. He's gonna play a young Nathan Drake.
Yeah, I saw that
in the Uncharted movie.
From one of those Vidya games.
One of those Vidya games. Yeah. So this movie's actually been in. You know, it's been in the works for a really long time, and then they finally started pushing it because someone's trying to make a good video game movie out there. It's never been done, but someone's gonna do it.
Speaking of which, see that Castlevania trailer?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. But first, let me finish the other thing.
Wow.
Jeez, rushing me. But yeah, so he's gonna play a young Nathan Drake, which I haven't played the Uncharted games, but apparently they're amazing, and a big reason for that is the story. So it makes sense why they would kind of want to adapt this out of all properties into a movie, because it does kind of have that rich story. They're trying to do the same thing with The Last of Us, which is also made by Naughty Dog, the company that makes these games. They get really great writers in on this stuff. But in the third game, I think it is, and like I said, I haven't played them, but this is what I've been reading. There's a flashback sequence where the main character, Nathan Drake, who's just your Indiana Jones type, he's just handsome, he's just getting in all kinds of dangerous situations and then just whipping his way out.
Wow.
Yeah, but there's a flashback scene with a young Nathan Drake, and so they want to start the movies with that, because my guess is because, one, they can cash in on Tom Holland, who's, obviously one of the go-to younger actors right now, but also that's just a small sequence, so they won't feel constricted story-wise to the whole game, the whole narrative of the games yet, because they can just do that main kind of work around that flashback sequence is what I'd imagine they're going to do. So, yeah, I don't know a lot about this project other than that's kind of like the biggest news we've gotten, which means it's one step closer to actually happening. But I'd be fine with that. I really enjoy Tom Holland. I know he's just kind of popped up. You've seen another movie with him, haven't you?
Yeah,
the Tsunami movie?
Yeah, The Impossible.
Yeah, you said he's pretty good in that. Yeah. So, that's back when he had the mole.
Yep.
The famous, was it Lose the Mole, Get the Role, when he was campaigning for Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so, like I said, I'd be excited to see this. I need to play those games, though. I heard they're really good. You should play them, too.
No, I won't.
I know you won't. But, yeah, you were, what were you mentioning before?
I was just going to say, Netflix is making a Castlevania animated show.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
And it's going to be R-rated.
I loved everything about that trailer, which it wasn't a long trailer, but just the intro is someone putting in the original game, and
it like flashes like 8-bit style through a few other Netflix shows like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black.
It's really great, and then it plays the small sequence, and it we see there's a lot of action that's going to be going on. There's a lot of bloodiness, people getting dismembered, cut up. I love the animation. You're not huge on the whole animation style that anime usually kind of...
Well, it depends on how they do it. Yeah. I'm not against it. My problem with anime a lot of times is when they really overdo it, kind of takes me out of what's going on.
That's fair.
I don't necessarily hate the style of it.
Yeah. But no, you seemed pretty like you were on board for this.
Yeah, I'll check it out, definitely.
It comes out pretty soon, I think. It comes out in July, maybe. So, yeah, definitely keep up with that, guys. I need a new animated show to check out until DC tries to make me pay for their Young Justice streaming service. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to pay for it, DC. I know you're listening.
Okay. So, you want to go ahead and get into that old topic, whatever it is?
Oh, I thought that was it. I was about to leave.
Oh, well, let me throw this laptop against the wall.
Well, I'll let you hold on to all the equipment. I mean, most of it's yours anyway, so I guess you can hold on to it. And I'll go get some lunch, and then you do the rest of the show.
You gonna get me some lunch?
Probably not.
Maybe you should just stay here then.
Actually, can I have your wallet so I can get lunch?
No, there's no money in that.
Wow.
I spent it all on this equipment.
Well, that's perfect. You have a reason to do the show. But yeah, let's do a main topic. What main topic we want to do?
We're gonna talk about comic book origins today. Also, I guess we'll do a little wrap up on season 5 of Samurai Jack.
Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, we can do.
No, you sound so surprised.
I'm really excited.
It's like we didn't even plan it or anything.
I mean, we rarely kind of plan. Even when we do plan something, it's just kind of like, should we do this? It's like, well, he didn't say no, so I guess we'll do it. But yeah, it's good a plan as any, in my opinion.
There you go. So where are we? We're at,
yeah, as Sean mentioned,
40 minutes.
There's a lot of comic book characters out there. We know
there's at least 3 comic book characters.
And we know some stuff about them. More importantly, kind of how they came to be. And figure we could just go over some of our best comic book origins in our opinion. You probably won't agree. You probably will agree. But on that note, let's just get into it, Sean. Do you want to? I mean, there's gonna be some obvious ones that we'll have to cover. You want to go ahead and do those first?
Okay.
All right. Name one.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about that guy. He's got a pretty good origin. Some might say the best. I say the best, but I've got that Spider-Man bias. But no, I love the origin of Spider-Man. Like I said, I love relating to these teen characters, Sean. I'm all about it.
You got a teenage boy inside of you. The cops are coming. They're not happy.
But no, it's Spider-Man. His origins, it's almost similar in a way to me. Like the basics of it is similar to Batman, kind of where. Just think about it. I know you give me that
I know
look.
with the father figure being killed, but
the parents figure being killed, and that's kind of like what that tragedy is what inspires him to kind of do that. But what I enjoy about Spider-Man is he is a younger character and kind of has this more happy-go-lucky attitude. Like he doesn't just want to break criminals' legs and then leave them in an alley. But yeah, I mean, obviously you didn't like how I started that out, so why don't you give it a go?
Wow. Okay. So Peter Parker, he's just bumbling around the science lab on a field trip.
Oh, I love how nerdy he is in the very first comics.
Have you ever read Amazing Fantasy number 15? I have.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The actual origin where he gets bits by the spider is like a page.
Yeah. Which that's what a lot of origins
yeah,
back were.
We'll get into that as what makes a good origin, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, hey, this spider seems pretty cool.
See what he's all about.
Then he gets bitten. He's like, well, that wasn't cool.
Like, I didn't expect that to happen.
Spiders biting.
It turns out that's no ordinary spider, as we all know.
It's a radioactive spider.
Yeah. You think we talk about Sony and all the crap they do, but we're just rehashing a Spider-Man origin story right now for content. Just, Anyway. But no, yeah, he's got the spider powers, and I mean, they're pretty cool. And like, why wouldn't you want this? I mean, any kind of powers, obviously, but like, that's a pretty awesome set of powers to have as a teenager. And they kind of cover that in a little bit in both of those, the Amazing Spider-Man movies and Spider-Man, the Raimi trilogy, the first one. He's just doing what he wants with those powers, just trying to get the girl, get the car. We can all relate to that, Sean. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but... And then you got that uncle over there always talking about responsibility and how important that is. No one wants to hear that.
Fun fact, that whole line, with great power comes great responsibility.
That's not how it goes.
Not how it goes, and Uncle Ben doesn't even say it in the original issue.
Yeah, it's Martin Sheen in a voicemail.
Yes, he went back in time. There is how Amazing Fantasy number 15 ends, is there's just like a little text, like a epilogue saying, great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I guess what we're trying to say here is that I like the origin of Spider-Man is, it's not anything, I don't necessarily say it's anything game-changing. Like, I don't know if anything like that, if any character had gotten his powers like that specifically. Yeah. But what makes the origin of the character of Spider-Man interesting isn't how he gets his powers, it's how he kind of decides what to do with them, to me. That lesson of...
Well, like, immediately after he gets his powers, he goes onto this talk show. It's like, look at what I can do with all this. You'll pay me money for this, right?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't get paid, and
it's real sad.
Yeah, and then somebody robs the guy, and he doesn't stop the criminal, and that same criminal kills Uncle Ben.
Yeah, it's kind of like, instead of being and that's the lesson as far as, we're kind of supposed to be the better person in situations like that. We're all tested in various ways, and we're supposed to kind of take the higher ground. But even more so from like the perspective of a teenager, that's not what you would think. That's not what you would do. You kind of want everyone to feel you want to treat people the way you've been treated. And if you've been treated like crap, you want to do the same thing to them. And it comes back to bite him in a really bad way. It comes back to spider bite him, some would say.
Wow. And look, I'm going to pause this.
Slap me around a bit for that.
And just take a moment. Okay, we're back.
All right, good. But no, yeah, and to see him lose, he never really knew his parents. Aunt May and Uncle Ben, as we all know, have been his parents. Like, those are his father and mother figure, and it hurts even more. Which I don't know about you read the comic. When Uncle Ben gets killed, do they still kind of have that falling out right before? Is that just always? Not
really. In the original comic, it's actually a burglar that kills him. That comes into, like, he breaks into his house.
It's probably Joe Chill. The guy's always messing stuff up.
And then the cops are like, yeah, this guy, he robbed this other guy earlier tonight. And he's like, it's the same guy. And then
what are the odds?
And then you get the whole text, with great power comes great responsibility. He wasn't killed in the streets like he is in the movies.
Yeah. And it's, again, like, he takes this, at least, how I've always kind of put it together is he takes actions that anyone who's hurt would take is, I'm going to hunt this guy down and get revenge. And then sometimes he kills that man. Sometimes he doesn't, because he realizes it's not the thing that he needs to do. But after that, he realizes, this is on me. He always kind of, it sucks for Spider-Man to kind of see him carry this guilt with not just Uncle Ben's death, but later on, you got Gwen Stacy's death, and just all the tragedies that befall him. But that's what makes him such a compelling character, and you feel for that. Like, obviously, like, you're like, these are just fictional characters, but to read that and kind of understand it just shows how good the writing is and how much the character means to people. Plus, he sells so many toys.
A lot of merchandise.
Well, no, that being said, as much as I love the origin of Spider-Man and I love that character arc, I don't need to see it in another movie.
No.
So, yeah. Good they went that way, so it seems. We might get an obligatory flashback in the Solo movie, but who knows?
I'm talking.
Taking the dog out? Bye, dog. So I'll be back.
Stronger.
But yeah, so let's just get into another one. I'm all sad after. Let's get into a happier origin. You got a happier one?
Throw one at me.
Right, let's talk about how great Batman's life is.
It's happiest childhood anybody has ever had.
He's always going to the theater, just dressed in little men's suits. He's got good suits. And then comics love to murder parents, don't they?
Yep. Father figures in particular.
Teaching me a lesson. I don't need it. But no. I think what makes Batman less relatable, like, I love the character of Batman, but his origin, at least, like I said, you gave me that weird look, but I do find them kind of similar.
No, they have some similarities.
But what makes him a little less relatable is, one, he's a billionaire.
Well, we got this podcast here, Snoop, we're making billions off of.
All that promotional material. But, yeah, he's a billionaire and he gets his gadgets. What's good about Batman, at least, that does make him such an interesting character and people eat him up is, one, he beats the out of criminals on a daily basis. But two, it's like, he's just a regular guy at the end of the day. And he just depends on, his detective skills and obviously his money. That's important if you want to be a superhero. Especially if you want to be a DC superhero. But yeah, he doesn't necessarily take the kind of the same high ground as Peter Parker does. Bruce Wayne, he obviously has that no-kill rule, no guns.
No, but he'll snap a few necks.
God, he'll snap so many necks.
He'll make you a crotchoplegic, no problem.
Yeah, so that's in a way that's even more relatable, is because the people he's beating up, they're criminals, and you obviously, like, you can kind of see, like, obviously I don't want these guys back on the street. Let's just break a few legs. Just snap a few necks. But, they're not dead, obviously. Like, he threw that guy into a crate, but he's fine, I'm sure. And then he's got such a good team together. He's got Alfred. We all love a good butler, don't we?
I've got 7.
They're all Jeremy Irons.
No,
what draws you to the character of Batman's origin? Like, what makes Batman's origin?
At least the origin. I think the what comes after, like what comes after his parents get killed, him traveling the world, picking up all these skills. I think that's good. That's something you can actually make a movie out of, because I think one problem...
Or a mediocre DC show.
Or a mediocre DC show. I think one problem that a lot of movies have when they try to adapt characters' origins is they don't know the difference between what makes a good origin story and what is a good explanation. Because, like, you have Fantastic Four, 2005, they tried to make a movie out of their origin, and nothing happens in that movie because of it. But like you have Batman Begins, you know, you have all the flashbacks of him traveling the globe and picking up all these different skills. You can do something with that.
Yeah, it's not the entire narrative.
Yeah.
And like you said, and that was more common to have like just the one origin movie as the first movie, but we've either seen these characters before, so we don't need to see these origins again, or some, we're just kind of past that point where why, give us like maybe 15 to 20 minutes at most, and then let's just get into this. Like, let's progress this character.
I've always kind of wanted like a kung fu style Batman show, like when he's a young adult traveling all over the world. Like he'll go to one place, learn some stuff, go on to the next place.
Just hang out with some strippers on his private jet.
He just might. I mean, that sounds better than Gotham.
Can we just get that? No, we'll do the thing that you said, but obviously to travel, he's got to have some scenes where he's on the plane. Because we won't know how he got there. So then we have those scenes, and we get Christian Bale back in.
There you go.
There you go. We got a show. But I think one thing that kind of... as you know, I love a good superhero costume or supervillain costume. Batman's got one of the best ones. But it is ridiculous. Man in a bat suit. I go back and forth whether or not I like this aspect of how he... Like, I like that there's a reason why he dresses up like a bat. It scared him as a child, and now he's becoming fear. Like, he's embracing his fear and becoming fear.
I always thought he had a bat fetish.
I mean, there's definitely the undertones of that.
He has to dress up as a bat.
Yeah, but like
that's the only way he can find pleasure in his life.
I like that. I like that aspect of he becomes his greatest fear to kind of instill fear into the hearts of criminals. But what if he beats up criminals that actually like bats? You think they're just like, oh, this is like, hey, what are you up to? Like, we go get some lunch later?
Like, I've only dreamed of this. I didn't think it actually happened.
But yeah, Batman's a great character. We need to do some Batman episodes later on. We know some stuff.
We'll do the Dark Knight trilogy at some point.
Oh, yeah, maybe do a commentary. We're going to do this one day.
Maybe.
Probably. So, what other origins you got up in the head?
Let's talk about Hulk's origin.
It's pretty basic.
Yeah, okay. So you got Bruce Banner over here. They're testing gamma bombs.
Nerd.
Wow. And he's got his cute little pair of binoculars on. He's getting ready to watch that bomb. He doesn't have any eye protection. You don't need those. You don't need those back in the 60s.
There's not one of those eye sinks around like in your old middle school lab.
Yeah, so he's just staring off in the desert. And he's like, "Oh no, a foolish, rebellious teenager is driving his motorcycle out there onto the testing field." So he gets in his Jeep and takes off. This teenager is Rick Jones. He's a rebel without a cause. He has no cause which to rebel for. And, like, Bruce grabs him and, like, throws him out of the way. But it's too late for him. The bomb goes off. He rolls into the ditch, and he becomes...
Not an eye sink inside.
He becomes the Incredible Hulk.
He's real angry about it.
Which is what makes a good character origin. Radiation and death.
And just angsty teens who are places they shouldn't be.
Rick Jones is like, "I don't care about no testing field. I'll go where I want because I've got no cause which to rebel against."
And a motorcycle can like that mindset and that mode of transportation can more or less take you anywhere, in my opinion. But yeah, do you like that? Do you like that origin?
It's fine. Again, it's just an explanation more than anything.
Which a lot of, like, you mentioned a lot of comic book origins that's all they are.
Yeah, I think the movie The Incredible Hulk what they did good was just over the opening credits. So, like, yeah, he got exposed to some gamma stuff.
Oh, yeah, that was real good. That was a good way to handle it when they brought in the new one. Plus, it, like I said, we've seen it. I'm glad they treated us like we didn't need to see a whole movie about that again. The thing is about the Hulk, I don't like the Hulk by himself. I think that's why I've never really gotten into just Hulk comics. I like him when he's with, like, you know, the Avengers, or, you know, maybe he's teaming up with Thor or whatever. But, like, the origin's fine. It's not like, it doesn't necessarily... I like the aspect of the Hulk where this timid, you know, shy scientist who just wants the science. That's all he cares about. Neglecting Betty over there. But he's kind of forced with this dual personality. It's just all rage and muscle and stretchy pants. And he kind of has to, you know, there's some aspects where it's just a rage monster, but other parts has this inner battle where the Hulk's like, hey, let me take over. And for a bit he does. When he becomes the Grey Hulk, it's just the Grey Hulk for a really long time.
Yeah.
Because he finds out it's something like he can't, as long as he's not in the sun.
Well, you're talking about the Mr. Fix-It version of the Hulk.
I guess so.
Which has a little bit more intelligence.
Eventually he can talk and everything.
Eventually he becomes a mob boss. There's multiple versions of the Hulk that he can turn into.
Just multiple colors.
Yeah, and originally Hulk was gray, not green, in the first few issues.
There's a reason for that, right? Like, editorial-wise?
Apparently the color green cost more money or something.
And then they went back to green because they're like, well, now gray's harder to do.
Yeah. Huh. Yep.
I really enjoyed the Hulk. You know, you were talking about origins that are just kind of more or less explanations. That's how the Flash, the Silver Age Barry Allen Flash, started out as. Mm-hmm. You know, he just gets hit with a lightning bolt being doused with chemicals. But I think what they've done with his origin since then works for the character. It's ridiculous, but it does work really well for the character. And that's, you find out not only the reason his mom died was because of his arch villain, the Reverse Flash, who just wears the opposite color, or like the colors reversed of his costume or whatever. But he does it for the specific reason for him to be the Flash, which I find really interesting, because the Reverse Flash is Eobard Thawne. That's his Reverse Flash, right? Or is that Wally West's Reverse Flash?
I think that's his.
There's different ones. There's like Zoom and everything, but yeah, at least the version I'm more familiar with, especially in the Flashpoint Paradox, is Eobard Thawne, who's from I think it's like the 30th century or the 25th century, is obsessed with the Flash and wants to be him, and recreates the accident, because apparently anyone can just recreate this accident where you get doused with chemicals and zapped with lightning and get super speed.
Speaking of which, you want to talk about Wally West for a second?
I want to go to him after this, but yeah, he eventually gets to see the Flash, and the Flash stops him because he's already clearly, you know, unstable and more or less a villain, even though he thinks he's a hero. And then he just decides, he's like, well, I'll be the opposite of Barry Allen. I'll be the reverse. But then he realizes he needs the Flash. His original plan was, I think, to kill to ruin the Flash's life and to kill him, but then he's like, if I kill the Flash, I can't be the Flash, or I can't be the Reverse Flash, and he's obsessed with the Speed Force and having super speed. So he decides he has to remake the origin, which they cover in the first season of the CW show really well, I think. I just love that added element to it, where it's not just like, this just kind of happened. Like, there's a reason why it happened. And I think in some versions, like, Barry's the lightning bolt that hits him.
Yeah, and that whole thing with the Reverse Flash going back to kill his mother and all that actually didn't come about till, I think it was 2001, Flash Rebirth by Jeff Johns. Yeah. That's a relatively new, part of the character's origin.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. Like, Jeff Johns has thing about Jeff Johns, and we've both kind of talked about this off air, is that he likes to bring things back to the status quo, and kind of like, these are the way I saw these characters. Like, these are who these characters were portrayed by, so that's what I want. But he does do it, and when he brings it back, he does do it in interesting ways. Like, I enjoy the stuff he's written for Green Lantern. I enjoy the stuff he's written for the Flash. I think he's been a pretty big part of the DC Rebirth stuff recently.
Yeah,
it's been good. So, yeah, but. Yeah, I guess you said Wally West.
So,
really dumb origin.
So, Barry Allen, he got his powers by setting up a bunch of chemicals in a lightning bolt, mixing with the chemicals when it struck him. Wally West wants to know how that happened.
Yeah, it was his nephew.
Yeah, through Iris
West, yeah.
So, Barry Allen's like, well, here's what I did. I set up all these chemicals like this. And
Wally He's just like moving around really fast with super
Wally
speed.
West is like, and then a lightning bolt comes, and they're like,
and then a lightning bolt shoots through the window and hits him.
And they're like, oh.
Which I guess is a good thing, because if the lightning bolt was on its way, so if he hadn't if he hadn't arranged his chemicals, he just would have been killed by lightning. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
And then you have the original Flash, Jay Garrick, who just drank some hard water.
Oh, yeah, some mineral water.
Yeah. That gives you superpowers.
I love the Flash, but yeah, their origins aren't the greatest. I think, like I said, the stuff they've added with Barry has definitely been something that's at least interesting to read, but you just more or less accept that this is how the others got their powers. I think Bart is just, he's, the future great-great-grandson, so it makes sense why he would have the Speed Force. That's another thing about the Flash. The Speed Force makes no sense.
Nope. It's just something.
It's just a thing.
It can do whatever it needs to do.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah. Which some people who, some DC writers, they hate that. Like, they're just like, he just has super speed. Which is, I guess, fine. But, I don't know. I really enjoy the character of Wally West, though. Like, even when he's just Kid Flash, I really enjoy him. I'm glad he's back in the comics. Which, there's been that other, the Black Wally West, the New 52 Wally West, but his character hasn't been as interesting to me. It doesn't have that history, but I'm glad, we got both. It's fine. We can have our cake and eat it too, Sean.
Nah, no cake for Sean.
No cake for Sean? Just origins?
Yep.
What origin you want to talk about next?
Want to talk about Doctor Strange a little bit?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
He's Iron Man.
Yeah.
Which they more or less nailed in the movie, which kind of hurt the movie, is that it's just kind of like Iron Man, but I still enjoy it.
Well, back in the 60s, it was like, he was in the operating room, smoking a cigar, I'm assuming just blowing the smoke right into open wounds.
Going right into the patient's lungs.
And he's like, boy, I'm a good doctor. The best there ever was. And he's got a Jack Daniels.
He's like, you know who would play me in a movie? Probably Benedict Cumberbatch.
He walks out with that bottle of Jack Daniels, gets into his car, and has an accident. He's like, who saw this coming? Who? I do like the concept that, in the car accident, he messes up his hands.
Yeah, the one thing that he takes pride in more than anything else.
And I think it's an interesting concept that the only person who's skilled enough to fix his hands is him. But he can't. Yeah, and
they cover that aspect of it really well in the films, where he's still a complete asshole to everybody around him, even the lovely Rachel McAdams. She's just trying to be a nurse. She's trying to be with Benedict Cumberbatch. Why does life have to be so hard?
I don't know.
Poor girl. But yeah, and it's also interesting to have this person who's solely based his entire outlook on life on medical science and knowledge, just what he knows to be real, is kind of forced into this world where the only thing that can fix his hands is magic. A concept he's just like, this is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
So, and he ends up becoming the greatest magician ever.
He can do so many card tricks.
He's just sorcering all about.
He's just pulling so many rabbits out of those heads.
Looking out strange sanctums, centauriums.
You mentioned Iron Man. I guess we'll talk about him.
He's a dickhead.
He is.
The thing about Iron Man is, and a lot of people have kind of mentioned who read Iron Man and see the movies, is that's not the same. The Iron Man from the comics is a good bit different from the Iron Man we get.
He's very stoic originally in the comics.
Yeah, and he's a drunk, which they have some drinking about in the Iron Man movies, but it's more for comedy or just like laying back having a good time with Thor in his fancy suit. But in there's whole stories wrapped or revolved around his drinking problem that are quite depressing. I think one of them's like the demon in the bottle
from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, originally he got captured in the Vietnam War, but they have to update that every so often.
Yeah. What if they didn't? What if it's like we're just still in the Vietnam War? Like it's still 2008, but we're just hanging around in Vietnam. Maybe.
I could deal with that.
You could deal with it? It'd be fine.
But, I think this is a better kind of something you could actually do with in terms of, adapting into either a movie or whatever.
Yeah, it worked really well. I love that first movie. And Robert Downey Jr. just kills that role. But he kind of has the same aspect of it. Like, he's more or less just at the beginning in it for himself. He doesn't care who he kills with those weapons. I mean, he's not pulling the trigger. It's fine.
He'll kill you. He'll kill me. He does not care.
Just kill my credit score. But yeah, and is he still kidnapped in the first, the original Iron Man story?
Yeah.
Okay,
Basically, it's the same thing. It's just Vietnam. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he's kidnapped, and then he has to build his way out, which is great because it does show how smart he actually is. Like, he built that armor and just walks right out of there, and he did it with scraps while like trying not to get killed by terrorists. But it sucks because he does make that friend, which I don't remember his name from the story. It's like the guy that kind of looked like Stanley Tucci, but isn't Stanley Tucci, but still really great in that role. And he realizes, and I don't know how, like you said, it's pretty much the same as in the comics. He realizes that guy was never planning to get out of there. And so he was just helping him get out of there, which is like something selfless that the original Tony Stark would never do. But also, he didn't want to leave because he just wanted to be with his family, who we find out is dead. And that's, as far as I think it's heavily implied that the weapons that Starks makes is kind of like what killed his family. And also they took him for that reason, is to kill his family and get him to make the weapons and whatever. Mm-hmm. So he kind of has to carry that guilt with him and learn to be better than what he's been. And then he comes back and makes the Iron Man suit and doesn't just... I mean, he still screws a lot of stuff up, at least in the cinematic universe. He's not learning a lot of lessons these days. He's at least getting his comeuppance, but... Yeah, I enjoy the character of Iron Man, but I'm not, like, a huge fan of the comics. But, like I said, I enjoy his origin. I enjoy his character. I enjoy Robert Downey Jr., of course.
Talk about old Superman.
God, just getting all the good ones out of here. Superman's origin is... It's weird because it's not really it's an origin, obviously. Like, we see... But he's already the character of Superman. Like, that's who he is. That's his... And a lot of people talk about that, like, it's how... The interesting thing about Superman... I think it's even covered in, like, Kill Bill at one point, is that Bruce Wayne... Bruce Wayne's originally Bruce Wayne, and he becomes Batman. Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man, but Superman's Superman. He becomes Clark Kent. So he kind of has to adapt into this society that he's clearly, like, better than... Like, he is, in all intents and purposes, he's better than us.
Well, he's better than you, certainly.
I mean, it doesn't take much.
Again, I've read the first issue of Action Comics #1, and I was surprised by how much of what we know about Superman today was actually in that first issue. Like, he's from Krypton and all that. He's raised by Martha and John Kent.
That comic's pretty long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of back when everything is just, like, heavy dialogue and explains everything. Like, the X-Men are just like, I'll move this board to cover up this hole and walk over it. Just walk around the hole.
But, yeah, he goes to Metropolis in the first issue. It's kind of the fight that he, I guess the conflict is basically just like a domestic dispute in that first issue, which isn't something we would think of Superman dealing with now.
Yeah, he's supposed to be off.
Yeah, but he actually couldn't fly originally.
Mm-hmm.
The whole...
He just leaps over tall buildings, yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
That actually came from a radio show. That whole, faster than a speeding bullet, and eventually you see it on the George Reeves show. It's part of the opening, but yeah.
That's really cool. Like I said, Superman's one of those characters I've grown to like more and more. The whole aspect of he is that Boy Scout, and he's like,
Yeah, but I like that about him.
I do like it, but it is more, like, for me anyway, it has been more interesting to kind of read these stories with Batman where he's just beating up criminals, but I'm really looking forward to getting into the new Superman stuff that started, because I've heard it's really great.
The best Superman stories for me are always the, because he is kind of like this near perfect specimen of a man. It's the idea that...
everything you look up to, of course.
Obviously.
Just pictures of Henry Cavill and just everywhere in this room. But I was a little uncomfortable when I walked in, but I've really just warmed up to it.
But the idea that, if somebody like that exists, what is life like for them? Like, how do they deal with people, like average people?
Yeah, and, like, apparently he just needs Lois Lane. He's fine.
Yeah.
We see what happens when he doesn't get Lois Lane. It's bad stuff. But I think a good, if I remember right, a good Superman story that covers that origin is Superman Birthright, I think. So that's a good one to check out if you want to kind of get, everyone knows the origin of Superman, but if you want to kind of revisit it, that's a more recent thing, I believe. I guess we can get to more obscure characters, Sean. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, let me think.
Well, we'll talk about somewhat of a B-list character here. What do you think of Daredevil's origin?
I really enjoy it. I know you enjoy it. You won't shut up about Daredevil.
Poor little Matt Murdock, he's just walking along. Oh no, this blind man, he's going to get hit by a car. So he picks up that blind man and he just throws him across the street.
Wasn't the man blind?
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
And then Matt Murdock barely avoids getting hit, but like a drum of radioactive material.
As we know, we're just, in these days, just all around the city.
It rolls off the truck and splashes him in his eyes. They're like, oh no, this kid that saved this blind man is now blind.
What are the odds?
So
you think if those chemicals had hit that blind man, he would have just gotten back his sight? And everything would have been fine?
Quite possibly.
I like to see that issue. Like that alternate issue.
So he wakes up in the hospital. It's like, hey, I can hear a bunch of crap I shouldn't be hearing.
Also, my eyes won't open. It's like, your eyes are open, Matt.
Like, huh. I'm not going to tell my dad about this, even though he's sitting right there. But originally, normally they show his, it's been retconned. They show his dad being killed for throwing a fight.
Being really bad at fighting.
Yeah, and...
That's pretty much been consistent.
Yeah. But, now they show it, Matt's a kid when it happens, and he grows up in an orphanage. Originally, that didn't happen until Matt Murdock was in college. Because Matt Murdock's just studying away. He's hitting those books. As his dad always says, you don't want to grow up to be a pug like me. And Foggy's like, hey, Matt, I got these tickets to your dad's fight. I know you can't see it, but but let's go anyway. So college-aged Matt Murdock and Foggy, they go to watch his dad.
Well, watch being the operative word.
And his dad's been told to throw a fight, or he's gonna get killed.
But it's like, my boy's out there. I'm not gonna disappoint my boy.
He looks up and he sees his son in his early 20s cheering his dad on. He's like, I don't want to disappoint that boy. He's like, nah. So he beats up the guy and he wins, and then he gets killed.
Which is interesting that he was able to win that fight because, as we know, he gets beat up a lot.
Yeah,
he loses a lot of fights.
Yeah, they kind of don't do this till later on, but his father, Badlin,
sucked.
Yeah, Jack Murdock wasn't actually a very good boxer.
He was just good for taking hits.
Yeah.
Ugh. And they didn't like that too much when he won that fight. And he can get out of there like Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
He's like, I'll just go get some milk from the store. Maybe pick up a newspaper. I assume they read those back then.
Yep.
And that was it for old Jackie Murdock.
And so in the original issue, Matt Murdock, he creates a yellow Daredevil suit.
Oh yeah, it looks no good.
To go after the people who killed his father. And he chases down the killer involving a trash can, because the guy's running down the road. He's like, that guy's running too fast for me.
I thought you
Daredevil.
I thought you were going to say it involves a drum of radioactive waste.
So what
everything comes full circle.
So what he does is he kicks over a trash can. It's like, well, if I jump on top of this rolling trash can, I'll be able to catch up with him faster. So it works. I just love the idea that he's too fast for me, Daredevil. This overweight, middle-aged guy is too fast for me, a superhero.
In his 20s.
Yeah. So he catches up with the guy. He's like, I'm not going to kill you. And the cops show up, and they arrest him. But, yeah.
Which, the thing is, I guess, so you said this was before they worked that part in, that his dad gets killed or whatever. Yeah? Like,
What part?
Is like, they eventually worked that in there. Like,
well, that's always been in there.
Oh, it's always been in there. Okay,
yeah.
because I was going to ask why if that didn't happen, why he would decide to... Why does he really decide to become a superhero?
Well, originally he doesn't. His dad makes him, like, study constantly.
Yeah, and to be a lawyer.
Yeah, to make something of himself. So he's not a pug. They're worthless dogs, let's be honest.
Oh.
I have nothing against pugs. And then
you just wouldn't let one be a lawyer.
But then all the neighborhood kids around are like, look at old Daredevil Matt Murdock over there. That's the nickname they give him.
He probably wasn't doing anything exciting either.
They're always like knocking the books out of his hands and stuff. Like, look at this loser reading. Like, who does that?
They do that a lot in Spider-Man as well.
So
60 high school kids were really mean back then.
Yeah. So
always making fun of your sweater vest.
But yeah, originally his dad was killed while he was in college, not when he was a kid.
Okay, so that's what they changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, Matt Murdock, he makes a suit. He's like, "What is it those kids used to call me? A daredevil?" Like, it's a good thing the suit I made has devil horns on it. That's very convenient.
Yeah, which they've worked into like later stuff as well, where he kind of does that to honor his dad because that's the the get-up he would wear. Yeah. It's the devil, or it's like Jack. That was his name too, like Jack the Devil Murdoch.
Well, Battling Jack Murdoch.
Yeah, Battling Jack Murdoch, but he had the devil horns on his hood or whatever. So that was kind of like to honor him, which is that's a nice addition. That's sweet.
They also made his dad somewhat abusive later.
Yeah, they don't like that dad that much, do they?
But yeah, that's if you ever read Daredevil, the Man Without Fear.
Yeah,
just kind of the
Frank Miller's
the reworking
reboot
of the origins of Daredevil. He gets slapped around a few times by his dad in that for not studying hard enough.
Frank Miller, oh that man.
But yeah,
a really good character though. I really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the show. I've heard the Daredevil comics as of recently haven't been 100% great, but there's definitely some great stories out there. You've read most of them.
I've read a good chunk.
You've read some of the bad ones too.
Yeah, I've read a lot of crap.
You just read it for all the great villains he has, like Stiltman.
That was a problem with Daredevil originally. Spider-Man, within the first 10 issues, you had like Sandman and Dr.
Green Goblin.
Octopus. Well, Green Goblin came a little bit later.
Oh.
But with Daredevil, you had like Frogman and the Matador, which was a Matador. So, yeah.
He gets so angry when he can't see that red cape he's holding. He's just like, ugh, I know it's there, but I don't see it.
He also, I think it was issue 4, he had the first appearance of the Purple Man. Which, the first thing he does is he goes to banks like, hey, give me all your money. They're like, well, I guess we have to since you're the Purple Man. And so the cops arrest him, and he's like, I could just tell the cops not to arrest me, but this should kill an afternoon. So he gets arrested. And then they're like, Matt goes to like visit him, I think to be his lawyer or something like that originally. Yeah. And the cops are like, well, all he did was ask for the money, so I don't think he actually committed a crime.
That's fair.
So, yeah.
Good stuff, man. There's one, and it's not even really an origin, but it's more of a lack of an origin than I appreciate, is the character of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those characters that, and they're kind of trying to get into that now. I think in the current DC stuff, there's like supposedly may have been 3 Jokers in history. But what makes the Joker as great of a character as he is you don't know anything about him. You don't know, and he doesn't even know. Like that's the one of the bigger things is in the Killing Joke, especially is that, and he's either gone and so insane that he can't remember where what led him to this point. Or he just enjoys making it up as he goes along to mess with people. So
when he does have an origin, he's Jack Napier.
Just Jack, I guess he would have been like 40 or 50-year-old Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Just wearing hats, carrying joy buzzers.
And yeah, that originally comes from the Killing Joke, that name. That's the first time it was used.
But, they kind of paint him as more of a, sympathetic character. He's just a down on his luck comedian, trying to make ends meet for his wife and his soon-to-be child, and he worked at the place where he worked at the place. It's weird. He used to work at the place next door to the chemical plant, and you can get to the
Ace Chemicals.
Yeah, you can get to the place they want to rob by going through Ace Chemicals, but it's inside.
Yeah,
sure. But it's out there, and that even shows his earliest encounter with Batman it's gone different ways where sometimes he doesn't even really acknowledge that Batman's the reason he falls into the vat of chemicals, they play that aspect of it. They play that angle of it a lot more in the movie, I guess, to give the two a reason to hate both a reason to hate each other. But like I said, I like this aspect of it's just a guy. It could be anybody, and he may have had something terrible happen to him, which in the Killing Joke that we know of that may not even be true is that his wife and his unborn child were killed in a car accident or something, I believe.
They were, the oven was on and they were killed by carbon monoxide.
Oh, God.
Something like that, yeah.
Shit, that's even worse. But...
Or it exploded. Might have exploded.
It might have exploded. We don't know. I love it. It's so ambiguous. I love it. But, yeah, and he's just kind of... He's like, well, I don't need to help you guys break into this now. And they're like, if you don't help us break into this, we're just going to kill you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I guess I got time. So, and then he falls into the chemicals. But what's great about the Killing Joke especially, and you don't like the movie a lot, but I feel like this is a really good part of the movie, is he has the Red Hood helmet on, he falls into the vat of chemicals, he gets out of the plant, and he takes off the helmet, and all it takes to make him snap is seeing what happened to his face. That's all it takes, and he's just the Joker.
Yeah, the idea of one bad day.
Yeah, one bad day. It's all it took. And I really enjoy that. And I know they're trying to get into the origin. And I'm not saying they can't do it right, but it's one of those things that it's been left alone for so long, a lot longer than I thought it would be. I mean, there have been the Killing Joke was originally an Elseworld story, so it was supposed to be kind of like this thing. That could more or less definitely be it, and that's why it's left more or less ambiguous. It's like he probably killed the Joker at the end, but then they liked it so much, and they liked the Barbara Gordon stuff that they worked it into the main continuity, which I'm fine with. But there's been other stories that kind of go more into his origin, and they're doing it now, but I like not having an origin. Yeah. I think that's what makes the character...
The Joker,
yeah, I think that's what makes the character as great as he is, because...
Well, even that original, The Killing Joke, it ends with him going...
if I had a past...
Well, yeah, I prefer it to be multiple, but he also says, sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes I remember it another, implying that story he just showed the reader may have been false.
Yeah, and they even work that into the Dark Knight when the Joker comes, because he's constantly you want to know how I got these scars? And I found it odd that it kept changing, but then it hit me he's either just doing this for laughs, or he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love the character of the Joker. He looks real weird in the new Injustice game, though. He's got a weird, he's got the emo Peter Parker hair from Spider-Man 3. He's got a nice open collar like Jared Leto.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a Joker. What other characters you got up in that brain, Sean? What are we at, by the way? What are we working on?
Hour 22.
All right, let's do two more each, or one more each, or two more each, whatever, and then we'll...
Okay, well, you throw one at me. While I think of one, putting all the pressure on you.
You did put the pressure on me. Oh, now I've got pressure.
Let's talk about Captain America.
Oh, thank God. I was not going to come up with anything. I mean, I could have edited it out, but just the pressure of that pause. Whew. I love Captain America's origin. Yeah. I just love the character of Captain America. He's just being a good old American guy. You know how much I love good old American guys, Sean.
You love Wrangler commercials. They're wearing those tight jeans. They're in their pickup trucks.
I don't like that much anymore now that you've described it in detail.
So, yeah.
Steve Rogers, just a guy just trying to do what's right for his country, which that's been kind of toned down in recent years because we're not as patriotic as...
I'm patriotic. I love America.
You got so many flags that appear next to your pictures of Henry Cavill.
Thank you. So, yeah, he joins to fight in World War II.
He wants to join.
The first issue, the cover of it, has him punching Hitler.
So you know what? You're already in for a good time.
If you were alive back in the 40s, you're like, I don't know about this Hitler guy. Is it just me? How do you feel about Hitler? I don't know about him.
I don't know if I'd invite him over for a nice dinner, nice steak and dinner.
Then you're down at the newsstand. You see this guy dressed in an American flag punching Hitler. It's like, I thought something was off with that guy.
But I can get behind this Steve Rogers bloke.
So
it's all good.
He's this really skinny guy with a giant Chris Evans head attached.
Even in the comics, that's how they drew him. No, but he can't join. The army turns him away because he's just a scrawny dude. But he keeps doing it. He's like, this is what I want to do for, like, my country and my people. And he just keeps going at it. And then he's got a way in. They're like, can we poke you with some needles, maybe?
Yep.
And he's like,
Erskine was the name of the doctor.
Yeah, that's Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew he's in one of them.
And the super soldier serum.
Now, with the super soldier serum, like in the movie, because I know about his origin. I'm talking about it, so I assume I know. Do they kind of cover that aspect of the reason why the Red Skull is the Red Skull is not just because the reason he's the Red Skull is because he had the serum before it was finished, and that's kind of what did that to his face. But I think he mentions that it kind of what the serum also did is it enhances those kind of personality. Those characteristics. So if you're a really bad dude already, you're just going to be a complete monster. And so he wasn't. What he was looking for in Steve is that he's just a good guy.
He's got a pure heart.
Yeah, exactly. Which I really love.
So he gives him the super soldier serum.
And then he turns into big Chris Evans.
Yep. And then his body matches his head. And Erskine gets killed, who is the only person who knows the formula to the super soldier serum.
He's one of a kind in that Steve Rogers.
And just for the next 70-odd years in the Marvel Universe, they keep trying to create it. They never learn their lesson.
Well, that's what they were originally doing with the Hulk, is trying to recreate the serum.
Yeah, in the movies, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I really...
They were like, you know what this super soldier serum needs? Gamma radiation. That'll fix it.
Maybe that's what Rick Jones was on his way to tell Bruce Banner about. Like, it's not gonna work.
Like, it's too late.
He couldn't hear him over the motorcycle.
Like, who let this kid on a motorcycle into my lab?
In the middle of the desert.
You know why he's in here, don't you? It's because he has no cause for which to rebel against.
And he parked his motorcycle outside. The meter's running.
Yeah. And eventually he gets frozen. Originally in the comics, what happens is him and Bucky...
riding a rocket.
Yeah.
It's great. And then I think Bucky kicks him off. So he's like, you got to be the Captain America that I can't be because you're Captain America. And he kicks him off.
And I'll be the Bucky I can be because I'm Bucky.
Yeah, which the only reason Bucky exists is because every character had a sidekick.
Yeah, back in the 40s.
And they're like, you know what this story about a World War II soldier trying to kill Hitler needs? A wacky young sidekick.
We'll just have a 12-year-old kid running around on the battlefield.
But then they made him do stuff that, like, no kid should ever have to read about. I think he was, like, going undercover and doing missions that... Because Steve Rogers is kind of like... He's the face of America at that point. He has to be, like, the golden child, and, he's who you look up to. You don't want to hear him... You don't want your kids to hear about him killing people. So any, like, missions that required, like, poisoning someone or just, like maybe blowing up a train with innocent people on it, just go have Bucky do it. I'm sure he'll be fine with that. Which is why, and they eventually bring him back as the Winter Soldier. But, yeah, he's just, to me, he's kind of what, he represents for Marvel what, in a way, Superman represents. Is just like, he's not certainly as strong or has the powers of Superman, but his character is what we want to be as a person.
Yeah, he represents the ideals of what America should be, is the whole point of his character.
Yeah, and I've liked how to kind of make his character especially more accessible to not just us dirty Americans, is they don't really focus on the whole patriotism about it. Like, he's not always, like, holding up an American flag whenever he wins a battle or whatever in the movies. He's just a good guy, and that's something a lot of people can latch onto. I really enjoy the Captain America that we've gotten out of these movies, and that we're getting in the well, not right now in the comics. He's not that much of a good guy right now in the comics, but
Chris Evans has knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he's really just kind of just stepped into this role, and even in the first movie, the things about the first movie, I really enjoy the first half of that movie.
Yeah,
it's just when it kind of, I think it's after the soldier montage, it kind of goes a little down. It's not bad by any means, but it's definitely the worst Captain America movie we've had. Unless you count his character in the Avengers, where he wore a weird suit and didn't really do anything but tell people what to do.
Who would have thought that the Captain America trilogy would be the best trilogy?
Yeah, it's come a long way, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think Thor can turn himself around with this next one, though. Thor doesn't really have an origin.
He does. I mean,
he's a god. He's worthy. Sometimes he's not worthy.
Odin's like, get down there on Earth, boy. I'm keeping this hammer. You'll get it back when you're ready.
He's like, look me in the eye. Just the one eye.
Like, Dad.
I'll go down there, but I don't like it. Maybe eat some pancakes. I guess I got one more that is a little out there, but I kind of want to bring it up, is I really enjoy the Red Hood storyline. That's, in a way, it's an origin. Yeah, I'd say so. Because you have Jason Todd, he's one of those Robins. He's got so many, that Bruce Wayne.
He just goes through them like a box of Kleenex.
It's really bad at parenting, isn't he? But he's the second Robin, and you eventually, like, I feel like a lot of people know that eventually. I mean, Dick Grayson's Nightwing, I think that's in the common, like, knowledge of most people get that. So he's like, I need a new Boy Wonder. I made this suit. I can't just let this go to waste.
Like, young man over there, young man. Yeah, are you wonderful?
Yeah,
I guess.
And he was kind of the opposite of Dick Grayson, where
he was stealing the
hubcaps off the Batmobile. Yeah. And he's like,
you got a lot of gumption, kid.
Like, you seem like no one would notice if you're missing. I'll adopt you. And he kind of wants to he tries to raise Jason to kind of, again, like the same thing he did with Dick, is to be better than him. And he obviously sees, he kind of has this rage that Batman can relate to, because Batman's got a lot of rage, that guy. And so he lets him become Robin. But then, even before, which the story of, I think it's Death in the Family is the comic story, and then the movie is Under the Red Hood. Mm-hmm. But the Death of the Family storyline, I guess it's back in the 80s, was DC put out a poll, and they were like, out of all these characters, who would you want us to kill? Well, and everyone voted for Jason Todd because they didn't like that Robin, because it's like, he's not Dick Grayson.
Yeah, okay, so, the Joker was beating him up with a crowbar.
Really bad.
And it ended on a cliffhanger, and DC was like, do you want this character to live or not?
Oh, that's what, yeah, everyone would live or die, and they're like, get rid of him.
Yeah, everybody voted, it was a small percentage of, like, the people that voted keep him dead. And there's some, speculation that maybe DC had always planned for it.
Yeah, they had two stories. Just
that they had only written on the one story,
Mm-hmm.
and that they fudged the numbers to make it be what they wanted it to be. But that's up for speculation.
Yeah, but no, the thing is about that Robin is, again, like, everyone loved Dick Grayson, so they didn't necessarily warm up to this idea of an angrier Robin, because he was, he'd been through his own. So were his parents? Everyone's parents killed in the Batman universe. Were his parents killed, or did they just abandon him?
I think he was just always an orphan.
Yeah, I guess he was always an orphan, but he wasn't happy about it, is my point. And so he gets killed, and you think, I don't know how long he was gone, but it was a decent amount.
It was like a decade. Yeah,
because eventually, and this is different in the movies and the comics, he's brought back somehow. Sometimes it's the Lazarus Pit. Sometimes it's like, I think it's because Superboy punched time.
Yeah, originally Superboy gets caught in it
was one of the big events.
Yeah, in the timeline.
Maybe 0 hour.
He punches time so hard that one of the effects of it is it brings
Jason Todd back to life. And he's aged the way he would have aged. And
that's good comic book logic, right?
It is, isn't it? And then I think in the movie it's the Lazarus Pit, which is still ridiculous, but makes a little more sense in the context of the story. So he comes back and he realizes, hey, that guy who beat me to death with a crowbar isn't dead. So he decides,
what's up with that?
What's up with that, Batman? So he decides, like, Batman isn't going to do what he needs to do. And he becomes the Red Hood, which is interesting because the Red Hood is, as far as we know, like, that, persona that the Joker, before he was the Joker, adopted. So to kind of have him, like, he's also, he's the new Red Hood. It's interesting to have that. And I really enjoy the story because you find out, one, that Jason Todd's alive, and you kind of want to see it his way, where Batman's not doing anything about these. Like, he's putting them in jail, yes, but they are, as we all know, they get out and they kill more people. But Batman won't draw that line. But what makes it I think it's when they finally kind of confront each other about it, is what really... You think Jason Todd's just doing this because he's like, I'm going to be the better Batman. And in a way he is, but the reason why he holds such a grudge against the Joker and Bruce is because he still wouldn't kill the Joker even after what happened to him. And, he saw him as his father. even though they didn't have the best Robin Batman relationship out of all the other Robins, he's like, he's like, if I think he says like, I would have went to the ends of the earth if he had done this to you or something. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy that story because you find out it is a heartbreaking scene to read or watch or whatever, but you also see Batman admits he's like, I want to do it. Like, especially after what happened to you, like I wanted to cross that line, but I know if I did, I could never come back. Mm. And that adds a whole lot to the character of Batman as well. And then I don't know. I didn't enjoy him as Robin. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I didn't hate him like a lot of people, dislike him. But he works so much better as the Red Hood. I think he's like Red Hood and the Outlaws right now, and it's going more over. I think recently he had to go to the warehouse that he was killed in and deal with that. So that's really cool. So yeah, it's just.
I was reading Batman Black Mirror. Not too long ago, and Dick Grayson goes to like this underground club of like rich people who are like selling off all these like villain items. One of the items they're selling is
the crowbar that he got killed with.
Yeah, and it's covered in Jason Todd's blood.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah.
You think he put a bid on it?
He used it to get out because he like grabbed him and swung across the ceiling with it.
That's really cool. Yeah.
But yeah.
I need to read that. Snyder wrote that one, yeah?
Yeah.
That was before the New 52, so...
Like right before.
Yeah, it's like right before it, because he eventually went on to do that. But no, I really, like I said, I enjoy the character of the Red Hood. I'm keen to see more stuff with him. But I think the problem with the Red Hood is after that origin, that's been the best part, is him coming back and finding out why he's the Red Hood. But after that, they just kind of write him as an angry dickhead a lot of times. Which isn't as interesting.
Which I can relate to.
I mean, certainly you can, but I'm a nicer guy. I think that's enough comic book origins for today.
Yeah.
We should do this again, though. Get a few more in there, because there's a lot more obscure characters that I'm sure people would like us to cover. Certainly I would like to cover. You might be fine with. Who knows? But what time are we at?
1:37.
1:37? I'm going to check it out today, but we can talk about something we've been checking out for the last couple weeks, like overall.
Yeah. Well, we'll just get straight into spoilers, I guess, for season 5 of Samurai Jack.
Yeah. So new Samurai. We're gonna. Do we have a name for this segment?
Samurai Jack is back in black. Samurai Jack.
It's also over.
It's also over.
And we're gonna talk about it.
Jack.
Okay. Yeah, but I think we did a whole episode about Samurai Jack and our favorite episodes from the first 4 seasons. Go check that out if you haven't. Really appreciate it. And even then, we covered the first episode when it came out. But it's been a lot more episodes since then, so we figured we could go over because we really enjoyed it.
How do you feel about the season as a whole?
I really enjoyed the season. Okay. Like the story. This was the first season that told an arching story. And I think that really added to the show. I enjoyed the episodic stuff that the first 4 seasons did. Just kind of see the adventure of the week or whatever. But this was able to do so much more than that another season of that could have done. Because we knew this was the end, and we knew we actually had to kind of... we needed to get somewhere with this story and this character and what he's been through. And we mentioned when we talked about the first episode, I love how he's just been... He's out of time, like literally out of time. It's been 50 years that he's had to deal with this, and you can tell the effect. It's had a huge effect on him. We didn't know what that effect was, and as the season went more and more, we found out some stuff until eventually we know what happened. That's one thing I want to ask you about is the first few episodes especially hint a lot of like what has been happening. Mm-hmm. For the most part, how'd you feel about some of these reveals? Like, because this was only a 10-episode season.
I mean, they were fine. They worked out fine. I don't think... The first 3 episodes, I think, are fantastic. I think they're a work of art.
They're amazing.
And I don't think the 7 episodes that come after quite hold up to that.
I thought... Yeah, I agree. I thought about that when I watched... Like, there was definitely some episodes that were really great as well in the later half. Mm-hmm. But the first thing I'm thinking is, like...
Some stuff, not just we'll get into the final episode, but some stuff in general was rushed. The relationship between Jack and Ashi could have used some more fleshing out.
Yeah.
Jack kind of going back to becoming
himself.
Yeah,
that literally happens in like a a second.
Yeah, that could have used more, definitely.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, because normally that stuff would just kind of really make, I wouldn't be happy about that. But I think the way they did it, because maybe they were told, hey, you can only have 10 episodes to do this, which doesn't surprise me if that's how it was.
I think this could have used like 13 episodes.
Yeah, I would say like 15. But I think they used aspects of the show that we've seen before, so it works in this sense of, how it happens in the story. Like when we see finally what happened, how he lost the sword, which is great. Like, you don't know. Which is, it's one of the first times you ever see Jack really just like lose it and get angry. Yeah, he's in, because Aku destroys the last time portal, and he's enraged, and he's so blinded that he doesn't realize that it's one of those things that when those beasts that were following, those goats or whatever that were following him around, if he had been in control, he would have noticed what those were, I think, because we instantly knew what they were. You saw, like, they were back there the whole time, and then he shoots that ray, and then they turn into that, and they still kind of look like goats. Yeah. But I think they did that as a way to show he's that angry. He just sees it as, like, another summoned minion or whatever, and he's like, I'm going to kill these robots to, make myself feel better. And even after he kills the first one, you see the blood. He's still just going at it. And then he's devastated when he realizes what he's done and he loses the sword. I think that was a pretty good reveal, because even when they show us that scene of him losing the sword, it looks like it's in a completely different place. So I didn't even know that that's when that was going to happen, because I originally thought it was like in a cave or something, and the colors and everything were different. I think what they did with the show artistically to tell a story is an amazing feat. Some of the hand-drawn animation in this show is beautiful. Especially in the last episode, like Aku's lair with the red and the black that you see in the background, I think is really great. The whole sequence, the final 5 minutes, is spectacular. It's beautiful. Yeah. Even because there's a lot of just like still drawn animation, like when Jack is being made up for his wedding, like being dressed up, and they just show like a still frame. That was really good. I think it's episode 9 where, things really go to shit, and Aku gets the sword. It has the painting, and it just scrolls down, and you just see, it's just Aku, and it scrolls down, and then eventually, like, kind of cuts out, and then you see Jack on, like, in the foreground, and, the corrupted Ashi in the midground, and then Aku in the back. Like, it's amazing. Colors, detail, everything. Just to throw that in there for just that one, like, I imagine that took a decent amount of work, and they just use it just to do that. That's like insane how much work goes into this show, and how they kind of because it's been, I guess, like 13 years since the last season, so they have all this new technology, but they're still sticking to their roots to kind of do that stuff. They didn't have to do any of that. Yeah, and it really adds a lot to have it back for the show. And I think the story is, I do enjoy the story. Yeah, it's good. It's just, it is rushed, because even in it, it's certain things. It's weird how certain things felt rushed more than others. Obviously, the finale, which we should cover last, is the biggest thing. But like you said with the relationship, it did just kind of... It's not that it necessarily came out of nowhere. Like, I think they more or less actually kind of get together, like, really late in the game. Like, by the 8th episode. But it is one of those things that, like, this could have maybe used an episode or 2 more. Not to harp on it necessarily, but just to have some more stuff in between. I don't know. I enjoyed their relationship, though. Yeah. I think it was really... it was... Because I thought I knew where the show was going to go when it first started out. I was already wrong about some stuff right out of the bat. I did not expect all her sisters to get murdered as quickly as they did. Which is great. That's amazing action sequence in the 3rd episode where they're in the snow. I love everything about it. But yeah, I did. Going after that, kind of, it was pretty easy to pick up. And I think we both talked about, we guessed this anyway, is that she was going to have this change of heart, because we already saw how she knew there was something else outside that cave that she was being trained in. So we knew that coming. But they threw me for a loop for some of this stuff. One, I guess, would be her being the true daughter of Aku. Yeah. We didn't think that was a thing at first. Which is really, that was an odd... It was funny when it's like,
because he smells like his, I guess, essence within Ashi.
Yeah.
Like, but I never. Well, there was that one time.
Yeah. And it has like this weird flashback of I think he shows up because they're worshiping him. Yeah. And he's like, have some real Aku. And he's like, I can't believe she actually put that in her. Like the writing is so good as far as how it breaks that tension with comedy. And I will say it sucks that we couldn't get Mako back for this role. But I think Greg Baldwin, as episodes went in, he did get a lot better. And that's another thing that sucks about it being as short as in, because he was just getting, like, I was really getting into this, this new voice and that he was giving to it. Everything, like, even just the sound design on the show, how it's been 50 years and Aku's so tired of everything that every time he moves, you hear his joints crack.
Yeah.
It's great.
So, yeah, but the last episode definitely needed some more time.
Yeah, I really enjoy the opening of that episode. Everything about it, from, like, I was on the edge of my, like, when that episode started, I was on the edge of my seat looking at that TV with all the characters. And it was cool. You see all the characters that have been, or more or less all the characters that you remember from the original seasons that had either played a really big part or, you vaguely remember from an episode where they were just kind of there.
Yeah.
And he saved them one time. It wasn't just it had the archers, which we saw in an earlier episode, but it also brings back the robot. I don't remember the robots. I'm not gonna lie. The robot people who were just like, who bring the big mech at the end of the fight. I don't really remember them, but I know they're from something. The Scotsman and all his daughters, all 40 of his daughters.
It was, I think it was 28, because I read that somewhere.
Okay, I don't know
how many names he gave out.
They gave all the names.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That stuff in that finale, I loved every bit of what I saw in that finale. I just wish that there could have been an extra 20 minutes worked into it, because the story, the ending, a lot of people did not like that finale because of that reason of it feeling rushed. And I can kind of get that. I don't think it necessarily ruins the season at all. I really enjoy, like, just the last shot, especially with
it's gorgeous.
And
so Ashi is
she finds out she has Aku's powers, which is actually pretty funny, because it's just like, I like how they address this feeling of being rushed. It's just like, oh yeah, I can do that.
So she has the ability to time travel, and she takes Jack back to the ending of the very first episode.
Those are clips from that first episode that they added in there, and it's really great.
And Jack very quickly kills Aku. And then
I think he's just like, you're back already?
And then at the very end, they're about to get married, and
they kneed her.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's so hard. I did not expect that. So, like, there's a show, Gurren Lagann. It's a really great show. And there's a very similar ending. And it's more heartbreaking in that. But, like, yeah, I did not expect that.
But, yeah, so she, without Aku, she would never have existed. So she disappears. Very convenient that she waits until the wedding to do that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's just like, maybe she just kind of like, because you see it affect her as soon as it happens, yeah?
Yeah, like, she gets like lightheaded and falls down.
Mm-hmm. So maybe she was just kind of fighting it, because it seems like she instantly knew. Like, I know that was just kind of to tell us what happened, which we knew what happened as soon as she fell. But it's so heartbreaking, because he went through all this shit. And originally, I thought maybe he was just going to stick in the future with her and start a new life.
Yeah. Well, it brings up a lot of other questions, like, if she disappears, all these people that he helps in the future, do they disappear?
Yeah, it's a time paradox. Well, it's a time paradox, because if she never exists, it's one of I hate time travel. They handle it fairly well, I think, for the context of the show. But it's like, if Aku was killed after. She couldn't have gone back in time. She never exists. I don't know. Like, it's there. It's fine. I look past it. There's no way you can perfectly explain it. But yeah, she's gone, and that's in like the last 5 minutes. Yeah. So you feel like it's going to end on this just like horribly depressing note. But they throw in the ladybug that they both at one point during the season, see each other interact, or she interacts with it and she sees her mother squish it. But then when she sees him interact with it after they got out of that beast in the 4th episode, I think, he just lets it fly away. And then it all kind of came around. And I think it's a really great, like, it obviously sucks that she's gone and that he was going to have this life.
So you have Jack, who's, I think they made a point of this. He's looks really young in that scene.
Yeah, he does.
He's finally had all this lifted off of him. But, he's thinks about his time with us. You can tell. Then he looks back over his now safe kingdom.
Yeah, he realizes that it was worth it.
Yeah.
And it does suck because you have, before they kind of, I guess it's right when they're kind of starting to kind of get into their relationship earlier on, you find out he's like, I don't want you around because everyone I care about becomes a memory. I don't want you to become a memory. And she does, like, she's just a memory, but it's a good memory.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's really great. And I think the thing that that works so well in the finale, I think that was the best thing you could have done either way. I think what really hurts the finale being as short as it is the final fight's just,
it's
really nothing. It's cool to see all
it's
the
almost kind of funny
back,
that he does it so quick that he just slices through him a few times. And you can nitpick at certain things, like you have all these characters across the planet watching, Aku about to kill Jack, and then they just show up immediately to where Aku is. Like, there's no way there's enough time for that, but you can look past it.
Sean, they use Celtic magic.
Oh, there you go.
I'm glad they got the Scotsman in one last time. When I saw him die in that episode, I was like, oh. But yeah, I think I can't believe they introduced all those daughters. That was great. That's the thing. The season overall.
You can take any lass you want there, lad. I'd never been prouder.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm okay. He's like, what do you mean? My daughter's not good for you. It's like, I actually already kind of found someone, and then she's still corrupted, and he's just like, she's not really your type, I don't think. It's stuff like that they break the tension so well with it doesn't feel like they're just kind of like, the jokes land for me. Yeah. All of them really do. And it sucks. It can be argued that those people don't exist anymore, so they're fine, but you see some people die in that fight, or get some of them get turned into Aku. And all the robots in the mech get killed, which it's like, oh, they're just robots, who cares? Like, that death hurt. They get smushed real bad in that Gundam. But overall, I really enjoyed this season.
Yeah, it's nice after all these years to finally have
that closure.
Yeah.
It was really great stuff. And I think it being as long as it has, to be able to get they basically got the entire team back together for this. And they may not have, it feels like they didn't get all the episodes they wanted to, but they made the most out of the situation. And I will gladly look forward to anything that these people do here on out. I know Gendy Charavatsky is his name, the creator. Mm-hmm. I know he's supposedly working on something else for Cartoon Network or Adult Swim, maybe, that they're going to announce soon.
Yeah.
I'll be on board for whatever it is, because everything he's done. I love the first season of Samurai Jack. I love this season. He did the Clone Wars animated stuff before I think it's like the 5-minute specials that had the same style of art. Really good stuff.
Hotel Transylvania.
Oh yeah, who doesn't enjoy Hotel Transylvania? I mean, if even Adam Sandler's in it and I can watch it, it just speaks volumes for how good it is. But yeah, really great season. I know we spoiled it, but if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Check it out again. I thought it was weird that the minute that show ends, they show a commercial for a season 5 marathon.
Yeah,
it's like, huh, okay, why not? But yeah, really great show. I guess that's all we can talk about today. I mean, we talk a little more, but do we want to?
Nope.
Works for me. All right. Well, thanks again, guys, for listening to this episode. If you want to go back and listen to any of our other episodes, you can find those on SoundCloud and iTunes and YouTube. If you want to maybe send us a letter, tell us what you think about the show, tell us what you want us to talk about, maybe, let us know what your favorite comic book origins are, or why we're wrong about the ones we talked about. Send us a letter, theunnecessarygentlemen@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. I'm at Snoop_Lynch. Sean Doyle is at the first Sean. And we'd love to tweet you guys. Give us a follow. We'll follow you back. Why not? Also, if you could, maybe leave us a review on iTunes. We appreciate any feedback we get. Someone left us a review. Our first review, Bill Ketchup.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill. But yeah, he said, I like these guys. It's a good show.
And I don't disagree.
And I appreciate that, Bill Ketchup. Also appreciate your name. But yeah, join us next week for what we hope is going to be a good episode. We're reviewing Wonder Woman.
Yep.
This will be the first DC movie we've ever reviewed on the show. I mean, officially.
Early reviews have been good. I mean, I don't necessarily trust early screenings.
No, but I think it's been like critics as well. It's strange to see critics not hate a DC movie.
Yeah. I mean, Batman v Superman, early screenings of that were all positive.
We saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
Positively awful, maybe.
Hey-o.
But yeah, till next week, guys. Thanks for everything, and bye.
Bye.